President Yoon Suk-yeol and U.S. President Joe Biden, they held their first bilateral summit earlier this afternoon, followed by a joint news conference and a state dinner hosted by the South Korean leader at the National Museum of Korea. From the first bilateral summit to the joint statement unveiled by the two leaders, let's go live to our Editor-in-Chief Moon Connyoung at the presidential office in Yongsan. Connyoung, now, have the two leaders called it a day?
Well, Sooyoung, Presidents Yoon and Biden just wrapped up their day just a few minutes ago, actually, after a state dinner hosted by President Yoon Suk-yeol at the National Museum of Korea. Now, we'll get to the state dinner later in the broadcast, but like you said, today was a packed day for the two leaders as they met for their first diplomatic engagement since President Yoon took office 11 days ago. The overarching theme of today's first summit between the two was taking the military alliance between the two countries, taking that to greater heights, to one that's dubbed Global Comprehensive Strategic Alliance. Now this is one that covers everything from semiconductors, EV batteries, and everything to united front against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. On security and North Korea, the two leaders agreed to holding bigger joint military exercises and expanding their military exercises, as well as having U.S. strategic assets deployed here to the South Korean area if necessary to deter North Korea. The Allies' agreement to begin discussions on expanding the military exercises that was once reduced or halted even during Trump administration and reduced due to COVID would draw fury out of North Korea. Now, mind you that South Korean and U.S. officials had been bracing for the North to thrust itself into the conversation with the nuclear or missile test during President Biden's trip here. They also affirmed during the joint news conference to pursue a complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, as well as to coordinate together on confronting the North. Now, on economic partnership, both leaders agreed that semiconductors and supply chain resiliency were key important factors in their cooperation, as well as to cooperation in technology. Now, President Yoon used the bilateral summit to declare South Korea's participation in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF, for the first time, which of course will not sit well with China, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Now, Yoon's security advisor says the agreement in full is taking the alliance to a new level, one that's dubbed Alliance in Action, according to him. And he said that compared to the joint statement that was released between President Moon Jae-in and Joe Biden last May, this one encompasses many more feasible action plans. Sooyoung.
And it does seem that the talks were very wide-ranging. And Connyoung, I understand the bilateral summit was initially planned to last about 90 minutes, but in fact we saw that it ran way over time.
It did, and it was in fact quite painful for us journalists waiting for the two leaders to come to the press conference at the venue. Now, that's because their restricted bilateral summit ran for 72 minutes. That's double the initially planned half an hour. And the two men also met privately, one-on-one, without any of their aides, just with their interpreters. And that lasted about 2.5 times longer than initially planned. So that lasted about 25 minutes. And that is why their bilateral summit as a whole ran longer than expected.
Well, it's been a very long day for everyone, our team and, of course, the two heads of government. But, well, what do Presidents Yoon and Biden have left for the remainder of Mr. Biden's stay here?
Well, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Presidents Yoon and Biden just wrapped up their state dinner at the National Museum of Korea and just called it a day. Now, tomorrow, on the final day of President Biden's 3-day tour in Seoul, Presidents Yoon and Biden will together visit the Korean Air and Space Operations Center, where they will see South Korean and U.S. servicemen together shoulder to shoulder in defense of collective security. Sooyoung.